Don't. Instead, remember some of these guidelines. Make up your mind if you will join the queue or not. Once you have joined the queue, stay in your line. You may decide to ask what the waiting time is before you join the queue. Some organizations will provide this service. Try to stay in lane, only reserve by using someone you know. Never say you were behind someone in a queue. Wait for someone to be behind you before you leave the queue if you must. Respect other people's space while on the queue. Watch your conversation on the phone, keep it confidential. Watch your personal belongings. Try not to leave shopping bags on the floor. Acknowledge the number of bags you're carrying. If you forgot something, unless it is close by, you will run the risk of losing your place once you leave the queue. Exercise huge amounts of patience, even when the queue appears endless. If you're holding a place for someone, explain to others around you to avoid conflict. Sometimes, the queue may be a telephone inquiry. You may have the option of calling back or leaving a message to be called back. If someone appears like they're jumping the queue, politely correct them without getting into a squabble. Always wait your turn if the queue is automated. Sometimes you may need to wait to be beckoned, served, or for the green light before proceeding. Follow the rules and
Akadonye, and this is the news brief on Plus TV Africa. President Bola Tinubu has highlighted the significance of global collaboration in achieving collective progress and prosperity at the 2024 summit on the Forum on China-Africa Cooperation in Beijing. He praised the China-Africa partnership as a model for sustainable development and shared prosperity, asserting that global challenges can be addressed through cooperation. Tinubu congratulated speakers, particularly FOCAC co-chair President Bassirou Diomaye Faye of Senegal, for their contributions to the partnership. Now, President Xi Jinping announced a $50 billion financial aid package for Africa, along with additional military assistance. He called for both China and Africa to unite their populations to contribute to a new era of global peace, prosperity, and progress. Meantime, Vice President Kashim Shettima has called for the Minister of State for Petroleum Resources, Senator Heineken Lukbubiri, and Group Managing Director of the Nigerian National Petroleum Company Limited, Mele Kyari, and the National Security Advisor, Nuhu Ribadu, to address the recent increase in petrol prices. Now, the increase was prompted by fuel scarcity and the country's crisis. Private suppliers have already sold fuel at higher prices than the NNPCL. Nigerian groups and individuals have condemned the hike, demanding immediate reversal, release of incarcerated or prosecuted individuals, end to policies causing hunger and insecurity, and halting the government's culture of terror. Now, the Minority Caucus of the House of Representatives has called for the immediate reversal of the recent increase in petrol prices, saying that it will no doubt increase the suffering of Nigerians. Now, the caucus, in a statement, said the unilateral action of increasing the price of premium motor spirit disregards the principles of transparency, accountability, and fairness, which should guide decisions affecting the lives of the citizenry. The statement by the Minority Leader Kingsley Chinda, titled "Reverse Petrol Prices Now," asked the president to immediately put in place urgent measures to address the connection between dire economic conditions and social unrest, rather than create conditions that worsen the already dire economic conditions. The Nigerians have been advised to prepare for further fuel scarcity following the recent hike in the pump price of petrol. Executive Vice President of the Nigerian National Petroleum Company Limited Downstream, Adedapo Segun, made this statement during an interview on Thursday. Now, Segun emphasized the importance of creating a perfectly competitive market to ensure stable fuel prices and supply in Nigeria. He expressed concern that the current pump price does not accurately reflect market conditions. Segun clarified that the NNPCL's role as the sole importer of petrol was not a deliberate choice by the company, but rather a response to market conditions. He also stated that achieving a stable fuel supply and price would require ideal market conditions, including a more liquid foreign exchange market. Now, the Trade Union Congress of Nigeria, TUC, has kicked against the latest increase in the pump price of petrol, warning that it would worsen poverty among workers. The union made its position known in a statement. Now, TUC President Comrade Festus Osifo, who signed a statement, called on the federal government to immediately rescind their decisions, promote policies that will strengthen the Naira, and take decisive steps to alleviate the suffering of Nigerians. It argued that the sudden hike, implemented without consultation with critical stakeholders, represented a blatant disregard for the welfare of the Nigerian people, particularly the working class, who bear the brunt of such decisions. The TUC said it is deeply troubled by the further hike in electricity tariffs by 250%, saying electricity was essential for the survival of the poorest in the society. It also faulted the timing and magnitude of the increases, wondering why the ordinary citizens would bear the pains of the government's policies. Meantime, the increased pump price of petrol appears to have worsened the hardship in Nigeria, with the increase in pump price bringing long queues at filling stations in Asaba. Kelvin Ugbeche, who monitored the situation in Asaba, reports that the number of vehicles plying the roads in the metropolis have significantly reduced. At some filling stations, petrol is being dispensed at 970 naira per litre, resulting in low patronage. A few others are selling for 900 naira per litre, while there are even longer queues at the NNPCL mega station, attributed to its pump price of 885 naira per litre. Moving on, now the Nigerian Bar Association has condemned the recent increase in fuel pump price by the Nigerian National Petroleum Company Limited from 617 naira to around 900 naira. The NBA President Afam Osigwe criticized the sudden price hike as harsh and unjustified. He argued that the hike has imposed an unbearable burden on ordinary Nigerians' finances, worsening economic challenges faced by millions. The NBA called on the federal government to halt the policy's implementation and engage in dialogue with stakeholders to explore sustainable alternatives. The NBA urged the government to prioritize the welfare of its citizens, particularly the most vulnerable, and pursue policies that alleviate rather than worsen hardships. The NBA says it remains committed to upholding the rule of law and advocating the right and well-being of all Nigerians. In the same vein, the Nigerian Medical Association in Lagos State has called on the president to reverse the recent petrol price hike to its previous level. The decision has worsened economic challenges for Nigerians, including medical and dental doctors who are already facing insecurity and forced to leave the country. The NMA Lagos urges the president to intervene and prioritize the welfare of Nigerians by reversing the price hike. Now, the association also urges the federal government to rethink its economic policies and focus on self-sufficiency in petrol production. Now, it says it's also committed to advocating the well-being of its members who provide essential healthcare services under challenging conditions. Now, the Speaker of the House of Representatives, Honorable Abbas Tajuddin, has urged Nigerian youths to focus on detail and avoid being influenced by modern technology. During an interactive session with participants in the 2024 Legislative Mentorship Initiative, Tajuddin emphasized the importance of trust, accountability, and transparency in his leadership, and emphasized the need for youth to pay close attention to details. The Director of Planning and Advisory Committee appreciated Tajuddin's support for the LMI youths. Now, the Imo State chapter or chairman of the All Progressives Congress, APC, MacDonald Ebere, has told aspirants and other party faithful to disregard the rumor going around that the leadership of the party has officially released results of a local government primary election across the 305 wards and the 27 local government areas. Speaking with journalists on the outcome of the exercise, the chairman, however, said the process was free, fair, and peaceful. Ebere noted that the presence of security forces and electoral officials across the wards and local government where voting took place gave credence to the exercise. He said that the party's national vice chairman, Southeast Zone, Ijoma Arodiobu, also observed the process. Confirming the exercise, a commissioner with the Imo State Independent Electoral Commission, Charles Ohiri, said that the process of the elections was conducted in a peaceful atmosphere. Now, the women wing of the People's Democratic Party in Taraba State has protested the election of Lois Emmanuel as the party's new leader, arguing that the consensus arrangement could lead to disunity and politicize the party. They are now seeking the governor, Abu Kefir's intervention to prevent the party from losing popularity among women. You're watching the news on Plus TV Africa. We'll take a quick break and return with more. Stay with us.
I will take you through this amazingness today.
Welcome to Plus Trending. I am Buki November, your host, saying thank you for joining us on today's episode.
Welcome back. It's tea time on Plus TV Africa.
Practice makes perfect. I'm not perfect yet, but I'm a lot better than I used to be.
He's a king. He's entitled to marry 100 if he wants to.
Welcome back to the news brief. Former Federal Commissioner for Information and South-South leader Edwin Clark has requested the Inspector General of Police, Kayode Egbetokun, to arrest and prosecute the Minister of the Federal Capital Territory, Nyesom Wike, over his threat to set fire in the State of Governors of the People's Democratic Party, PDP. Wike warned PDP governors to steer clear of the party's affairs in Rivers, threatening to set fire to the estate if they did not want peace. Now, Clark criticized Wike's words as disrespectful to President Bola Tinubu and described his comment as treason capable of inciting violence in the country. He urged the IGP to do the same with Wike and get him to retract his statements. Now, Justice Peter Alifu of the Federal High Court in Abuja has reserved judgment in the All Progressives Congress suit against the Independent National Electoral Commission for the local government election in Rivers State. Now, the APC argued that INEC can only release the register to the state SEC on strict conformity with the 1999 Constitution and the Electoral Act of 2022, allowing the Commission to stop continuous voter registration at least 90 days before the poll date. The plaintiff argued that the state SEC has not met the condition precedent for the local government elections in Rivers State. The court listened to all pending applications and the substantive suit, with Gadi Uche presenting his motion for change of counsel and discontinuance of the suit. And now to other parts of Africa. China's foreign ministry has urged Eswatini, Taiwan's only diplomatic ally in Africa, to recognize the trend and make correct decision. Eswatini is the only African country absent from the 2024 Forum of China-Africa Cooperation Summit in Beijing. The summit is expected to adopt an action plan to strengthen cooperation in global governance, security, trade, and investment in the next 3 years. China has long regarded Taiwan as a reneged province and has no right to establish diplomatic relations with other sovereign states. A former New York governor's aide, Linda Sun, has been arrested for acting as an undisclosed agent of Beijing, blocking Taiwanese government representatives from accessing high-level officials and influencing New York governmental messaging. Moving outside the continent now, Russian President Vladimir Putin has declared his support for Kamala Harris in the November U.S. presidential election. Putin made this declaration a day after the U.S. Justice Department charged 2 Russian media executives over an alleged illegal scheme to influence the November election with pro-Russian propaganda. He had said earlier this year, before President Joe Biden withdrew from the race, also with apparent irony, that he preferred him over Trump because Biden was a more predictable, quote, old-school politician. Now, the Kremlin leader said Biden had recommended his supporters to back Harris, pledging that Russia would do the same. Now, Putin said Trump, as president, had introduced more sanctions against Russia than anyone in the White House before him. In business news now, the Nigerian National Petroleum Company Limited has reported 188 oil theft incidents in the Niger Delta region between the 24th and 29th of August, with 89 illegal refineries dismantled in a week. Now, illegal connections were discovered in Bayelsa, Abia, and Rivers State, and crude oil spills occurred in Abia, Rivers, and Bayelsa. Vandalism incidents were also noted, with a boat carrying metals from vandalized oil wellheads accosted in Rivers. 31 suspected oil thieves were arrested last week and handed over to government security agents for further investigation. The NNPC's Group Chief Executive Officer, Mele Kyari, criticized crude oil theft as the most virulent economic crime in Nigeria and urged the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission to address it. In entertainment news, now, platinum-selling rapper Rich Homie Quan has passed away at the age of 34. The news was confirmed by his family and the Fulton County morgue. The rapper, born DeContis Lamar, died on Thursday at his home in Atlanta. No cause of death has been reported, and the family is currently seeking answers. And that's the news brief. For more stories, please follow us on Facebook, on X, and Instagram, and do subscribe to our YouTube channels at Plus TV Africa and Plus TV Africa Lifestyle. You can also view us from Limex on limex.tv and Glow TV apps anywhere in the world. I am Justin Akadonye. Many thanks for watching.
Tita woke up with a start. She was experiencing intense cramping in her stomach, a sign that her menstrual period was here. The severe pain made her wish sometimes she was a man. When she was still married, her period felt like a curse, showing up every month without fail, meaning that she failed at conceiving yet again that month. The singular act that would truly make her a woman kept evading her, and her potential children came out as blood clots. Thankfully, she is in a better headspace now. She carefully got out of bed, grabbed a change of underwear and a sanitary pad, and went to have a bath. She felt some relief after the bath. She reached for some ibuprofen in the drawer by her bed. As she swallowed the pills, she prayed silently, a practice that she had rediscovered recently. Dear God, you know my desire to have children. I know you're the one who placed the desire inside of me. You have formed my body in my mother's womb. Take control of my body. As she drifted back to sleep, she thought of only the future, a future she so badly wanted Ifunanya to be a part of. Bright and early the next morning, she was off to the market. She needed to get some foodstuffs for the week for both her and Ifunanya. Thank God it was the weekend. Even though she was in pain, she still had a lot of things to do that will help take her mind off it. Halfway through the market runs, the cramping became unbearable, that she had to find a place to sit. She always carried water and painkillers with her, so she quickly took some and waited for the pain to subside. An hour later, she was back home and in bed. To help with the pain, she held her trusted hot water bottle against her stomach as tightly as she was wrapped in her blankets. It hadn't always been like this. When Tito had first gotten her periods at 13 and throughout her teenage years, she hardly had any problems. By the time she reached her 20s, her periods had stopped being regular, and when she managed to get them, they came with excruciating pain. Her insides usually felt like someone was wringing a wet piece of cloth. However, in her youthful naivety, she had not worried about it because she thought it was just a phase. She soon found out the hard way that it wasn't a phase. The first miscarriage after she got married marked the start of her journey in the fight against infertility. She soon realized how much culture and tradition were stacked against her. Hi, my name is Shay Amaro. I'm a brand business consultant, an author, and founder of PCOS Conquerors. Yeah, so with PCOS, I think every experience is different for women. For me, I kind of fell on the scale where what triggered my interest in my hormonal health was really I was having prolonged periods, which then I didn't know it was also a side effect of PCOS. I wasn't even aware I had PCOS. But the more I look back at when I started having these issues, I realized the first time I had issues with my period was like when I was 18. And at 18, what happened was I didn't see my period 1 month. I went to see a doctor. She was a female doctor. She's an Indian woman with my mom. And basically, she all but, I don't even know, accused me of having premarital sex. And I was like, okay, first of all, I'm a young girl, fine. I know people are active and stuff, but I said I'm not active. But she didn't believe me, just basically gaslighted my experience. And then my period came the next day. So I just thought, you know, I'll never ever do that again. And once I didn't, so that for me was almost like, oh, it's like my body is now giving me a break from periods and stuff. So when it started becoming regular, like every year, because it was after 18, I started noticing I would miss my periods. I didn't pay any attention to it. And it didn't, and that was until maybe I was like 26 or so, when I started noticing my body was changing and everything. So I went to see a doctor. That was when the doctor didn't call up PCOS, but he was just like, okay, you're getting married soon. You know, just let's watch and see. It was always let's watch and see, nothing definitive. And even when one doctor said, okay, he was going to put me on birth control, he didn't really address my concern. I was concerned I was gaining weight. He was telling me I'll put on more weight. So obviously I was like, yeah, I don't think I need birth control. And when I finally got diagnosed, and this was like 2017, I remember the experience just being a bit horrid because the doctor, who happened to also be a childhood doctor for me, it was more like an experiment where he was, you know, just checking my stomach and then calling his nurse, or I don't even know, maybe resident doctor to like, oh wow, like this is a classic case of PCOS. And I'm then like going crazy because I'm like, okay, I've read the things online, it looks scary, and there was nothing done to elevate, what I knew or what to do next. So the same thing was let's watch and see. So it was always let's watch and see, no active solution. To be honest, it was until I started taking some interest in my own body that I started finding out things I could do to help myself get better. People judge books by its cover. Yes, I mean, I think that was one of my biggest lessons, because I just spoke about it, because I knew when I picked the cover, I knew what I was trying to depict. And because I'm the kind of, when I read, I'm quite cerebral. I like when people like hide things in like covers and stuff. So when I'm reading a book, I like going back. So I wanted to give my readers that experience, but I realized not everyone would see, and especially if people don't know. Some people are like, oh, they see a book, they read the back and they want to get to know it. But most people would literally judge, okay, is this something I want to read? And especially if people don't know your name, your book cover does a lot more for you. I'll say, maybe building your team early on, yes, write the book, but then having a full team. It's not just the publishers. You need a publicist, you need a marketing strategy, really, really counting the costs, because it's expensive, y'all. Well, it happened during lockdown, so I think, we're stuck at home. So that was, I don't know if I'll call it, okay, I'll call the challenge, kind of getting discovered, because I've never written a book before. People don't know me. So it was almost like coming into like a whole market and trying to get the message, and not really knowing the process. There was nowhere I could go to be like, and I'm sure maybe there was, but I couldn't really find anything. And then I did try reaching out to certain authors that, had the experience, because you think, oh, let me reach out to this woman. She might be candid enough. But yeah, I didn't really get that much feedback. Although my publishers, they did help me a great deal. I had this story. I had this story since 2018. And it wasn't until 2020 that I was able to just sit down and write it. So I think if I had a lot of guidance at the start, I would have done a lot of things different. And one of the things I had to do was change my book cover. So having that kind of guidance, at least it would have known, oh, this might not work, the people might misinterpret it, that kind of thing. But I just said, you know what, I'm just going to go for it and then learn from my mistakes and just see out as I go. And that's how it's been for me. I've been figuring things as I go. I feel like I have an authentic story, and hopefully it sells itself and gains the traction. I think it's amazing. I think it's a thriving, right now, I feel like it's such a thriving market. Like, I've seen a couple of books come out recently, and I've been seeing more female authors. So initially, it seemed like something that only a select people could be a part of, and then you have to, have that name before you even get to sell. But I'm seeing more people kind of break the glass ceilings with their books, like once they understand the market. So it's something like I want to get into even more. Like, I just wrote a book and I'm like, okay, cool. I wasn't thinking I was going to really delve into it. But the more I started connecting with more authors, the more people seeing their books, Dami Adetu, she has a beautiful book called Home. The more I'm like, okay, this is actually something I really want to be a part of. I started a conversation, I think during lockdown, about Publish Her, just like an initiative, just encouraging more women authors from this space. So I think it's be good to see more people I mean, we're already seeing it, so it's just, let's create more forums for people to dialogue and even learn more, because it's something that can take us to the world, especially if we have a great story that can be produced internationally.
Star Police switch to on, light on. Switching command to internal. Expectedly back, DW. Fuel tank pressure 60 Your nav state with back and is perfect.
is engagement we need to have.
Those who suffer miscarriages are never taken into account.
Members of the National Assembly are also influence peddlers.
You are sitting on Nigerians' money.
From the Babin, I pay my rent. On the Babin, I send my children to school.
A consultative engagement.
No any tangible notification before they ban us.
It's one thing for people to be at your back and the heat of the moment, and another thing for them to still be with you when push comes to shove.
The Nigerian National Petroleum Company Limited has announced that petrol distribution from Dangote Refinery will begin on September the 15th. Olufemi Shoneye, NNPCL's Chief Corporate Communications Officer, stated that prices will fluctuate based on market conditions. Now, this follows the start of refining operations at the Dangote Refinery. Now, NNPCL's Executive Vice President of Downstream, Adedapo Chego, confirmed that the downstream sector is fully deregulated, meaning that the NNPCL will not control prices. Addressing concerns about potential monopolization, He also noted that current fuel shortages are expected to ease soon. Meanwhile, the minority caucus of the House of Representatives criticized the NNPCL's recent petrol price hike from 568 naira to 855 naira, citing economic hardships faced by Nigerians. Now, we will be looking at these developments on the show today. Welcome to Business Insight on Plus TV Africa. I am Justin Akadonye. All right, before we get into the conversation proper, Vice President Kashim Shettima has summoned the Minister of State for Petroleum Resources, Oil, Senator Heineken Lokbobiri, and Group Managing Director of the Nigerian National Petroleum Company Limited, NNPCL, Millie Carey. Also summoned on Thursday at the Presidential Villa is the National Security Advisor, Nuhu Ribadu, over the recent hike in the petrol price, popularly known as PMS. The Vice President was meeting with the trio in his office at the State House, Abuja. Now, on Tuesday, the NNPCL increased the pump price of petrol from 568 naira to 855 naira to about 897 naira, depending on the location per litre, and lingering fuel scarcity and the country's crisis. Private suppliers already sold fuel at higher prices than the NNPCL. Some were selling at 1,200 naira per litre on Wednesday and, of course, on Thursday.
Vice President, who was directed by Mr. President to summon this meeting, and we've been with him to brief him what is going on across the country. And what is important is for us to convey to Nigerians that the President is empathetic about what is going on in the country. He's concerned about the hardship of Nigerians, and that was why he directed the Vice President to call this meeting, for us to reflect on what is going on in the country. Products are available in the country, and we believe that between now and the weekend, there will be availability of products across the length and breadth of the country. The price could be high in some other areas, much more. Higher in some other locations, in some locations much more than, other areas. But we believe that by the time, there is availability of products across the country, the price itself will stabilize. But what is important is that government is not fixing prices. This sector is deregulated, and we believe that with the availability of products, the price will find, its level.
The regulator is ensured that there's increased operating hours from all loading depots. Vessels are being cleared promptly, and extended hours where safety can permit for truck outs as well. More importantly also is the reinforcement of the support being given to local refiners, because with increased production from them, indeed, like the minister has said, there will be higher supply, which will stabilize the price.
I will take you through this amazingness today.
Welcome to Plus Trending. I am Buki November, your host, saying thank you for joining us on today's episode.
Welcome back. It's tea time on Plus TV Africa.
Practice makes perfect. I'm not perfect yet, but I'm a lot better than I used to be.
He's a king. He's entitled to marry 100 if he wants to.
Hey, what's up, guys? You're welcome to another edition of Plus Event, and I remain your host.
Your absence isn't an excuse anymore, as Plus Events is all you need, as we bring you the glitz, the glamour, and loads of fun.
Oh, definitely. No question. He's a living legend. God forbid, Holy Ghost fire, I know.
I just want to be blown away. I want to be wild. This is 11 years of doing it.
I'm surrounded by so much positivity.
No, it's okay.
Yo, what's up, my people? It's your boy Starboy Terry. You're watching
Plus Event on Plus TV.
Stay glued to Plus TV Africa every Saturday and Sunday, 4:30 p.m. West African time.
All right, welcome back. I have the Executive Director, International Organization for Peace Building and Social Justice, Ishaya Inuwa Dukowa, joining me now for more discussion. Good morning to you, Ishaya. Thanks for joining us on Business Insights.
Yeah, good morning. I'm so happy to be here this morning with you in the studio.
All right, this is indeed our pleasure to have you. A whole lot has been happening since the announcement of the increase in petrol prices since on Tuesday. There happened reactions from various associations, including the TUC, the Medical Association, the lawyers, even the NOC have all reacted to this. But the recent development is that NNPCL is telling us that Dangote product will be flooded to the market by September 15, but specifically it is going to be determined by market forces. Let's get your candid reaction specifically, because I know you also are bearing the brunt. So what are the feelers you are getting in recent days concerning this price increment in fuel?
Well, it's a very sad situation for us in this nation, especially in times like this. Knowing that Nigerians have been grappling with economic challenges, from rising inflation to unemployment to diminishing purchasing power, and then this recent fuel hike, which is about 1,000 naira in the city where I live, as I bought fuel yesterday for my wife, only adds another burden to an already strained economy. So it's a very difficult season for Nigerians everywhere. And as you know, this petrol hike or price hike has a way of affecting every area of our lives as a people. So this is where we are at the minute.
In your opinion, there seems to be a whole lot of expectations that are actually very rife with the coming on stream with the of Dangote product, the PMS specifically, because he announced, that the product will be available within the next 48 hours. But Nigerians are actually hoping that over time this issue of fuel scarcity, would ease very soon with this product coming on stream, and that maybe the issue of pricing might be reviewed. Do you share similar sentiments?
Well, the challenge is that hope ought to be active, but sadly ours is always a hope that is characterized by or as a wishful thinking, which never comes to the light of the day. We were greeted with a lot of excitement, knowing that the refinery, the Dangote refinery, is up and doing. But whatever it is that is making that the fuel from the refinery is not coming into the market, just makes the heart sick. Hope differs or deferred makes the heart sick. This is where we are at in Nigeria, and we speak too much English. We have experts talking about expert things, but when it comes to real practical outcomes of the things they are saying, we don't get to see them. So there is something from the back end. I don't work in the petroleum industry, but definitely there is something from the back end that they are shielding from Nigerians, whether it is NNPCL that is not lifting the fuel or whatever the protocol there is, we need to deal with it. The bottom line is that Nigerians are not smiling. Nigerians are not happy. Even where there is fuel, you see queues. And so you are forced to go to black market to go get fuel. So I do not know I don't want to know what is going on in that sector. What Nigerians need is petrol, and petrol that is affordable. And that is the desire and the aspiration of all Nigerians. So whatever is there, leaders must lead. And to lead is to do needful to get fuel out for Nigerians and to get it in a price that is affordable.
Okay, what can you say as regards the transparency in government in all of this? Because a school of thought believes that the government is always reactionary when it comes to issues and policies that they have carried out, and most times they tend not to carry, the average Nigerians along. NNPC have just put out a statement on Tuesday that the product has increased and they're having some debts and all of that. Reactions trailed. Then the federal government, that's the vice president, summoned the minister, summoned the NSA yesterday to a meeting, all in a bid to, forestall issues that would, occur. The minority caucus at the House of Representatives also issued a statement condemning the fact that Nigerians are actually groaning. So what does it really tell about our policy formulation and how transparent government has been in terms of, issues that affect the average Nigerian?
I have argued everywhere that policy has never been our problem, but the willpower to see policy being carried out, policies being used in practical reality, that has always been our challenge. All of the policies promulgated in this nation, if we can use a fraction or put a fraction of them into usage, Nigeria is going to be a heaven on earth. But sadly, we have these policies, but nothing is coming out of it because of the lack of will from those who are leading us to see that these policies have crystallized and become actionable in Nigeria. And when you talk about transparency, what I would say about that is the fact that transparency is a strange word for us as far as governance is concerned in Nigeria. Our leaders have never been transparent, and there has never been a time that they need to own up to it and begin to become transparent with Nigerians and begin to communicate ahead of time rather than being reactionary. So, and I will point, for instance, to prove to the fact that transparency has never been in supply for us. Until Dangote came out to say that they are not giving him crude oil, what was going on behind the scene? He had to protest. He had to come out and speak before an executive order was given for him to get crude oil. That is lack of transparency there. There is something going on behind the scene that an average Nigerian like me doesn't know. And that is a sad reality. But this transparency thing cuts across every sphere of leadership in our nation. And until and unless we come to the table of transparency, we may not be able to drive anything in a reasonable way. Now, if there is transparency, government would have come out before now to say, here is the XYZ why petrol is not in market. Now, we are working to solve this problem, and by X date, you are going to have fuel. But they didn't say that until it was told, the problem was told, or whatever the challenge is, was told before we began to hear that fuel is not being lifted from the refinery. Dangote said the fuel is ready, but we are not seeing it in the market. So our leaders need to look at these issues, transparency and the willpower to see that policies are used to bring about social justice in our land, as against just mere rhetorics. We should go beyond this, please.
Because right now, the average Nigerian is wondering what is going on. The minister, addressed newsmen yesterday after the summon by the Vice President Kashim Shettima. That's Lokbobiri, Heineken Lokbobiri. And he is saying that the issue is that there is a fuel supply. Let me just quote him. He said, despite the scarcity, he's saying that there's product availability, despite the fact that Nigerians cannot even find the product. Those who can find it are buying at a very exorbitant price. He said then what is important is that the product are available in the country. The minister also assured Nigerians that the scarcity being experienced will be over before the weekend, as petrol will be available across the country. He stated that once the product is available, the price would be stabilized. So I don't really get it. I don't know if you do. We have the product, there's scarcity, and now the issue of pricing is at the forefront.
So he says that fuel is going to be available.
He said there is availability of product.
Yeah, so the weekend just began. Today is Friday. We've just started. The weekend just began. So let's see if by Sunday what the minister says would come to the limelight. Otherwise, you then know that we are going back to transparency issues. Those who are leading us are not sincere in many ways. I hate to sound strong or to talk with strong words, but if they are hearing those who are leading us are not sincere, they are playing with the life of Nigerians, they are throwing Nigerians into a state of anarchy and confusion because everything is being impacted by this lack of fuel, and they need to get up and begin to solve this problem before we face a monster that would destroy all of us. Nigerians are not happy. I'm a grassroots person. And I know people are hungry. We can talk about the implications of this fuel hike. And chief amongst the implication is that it increases hunger because poverty is increased. No purchasing power. Nigerians cannot save. And we can talk about all of these things. And I hope those who are leading us know that there is to the extent that a person can endure hunger because the clock is just ticking, and we'll get to where we may not be able to contain the situation. So I don't believe them until I see it because they have said it again and again and again. I don't believe it. And there are many Nigerians like me who don't believe what they are saying. Sometimes it appears as if they are even clueless. But these things are simple. It's just the willpower to demonstrate leadership. Fuel is available, as Ngote has alluded. If fuel is not available, they would have countered it. And this is science. They can prove it. Go to the refinery and check if his claims are fallacious. Now, if the fuel is there, why is the fuel not in the market? So that the market forces can stabilize all of these things. So please, they should be sincere.
All right.
Keep that pressure, and we shouldn't be going through this.
All right. As we begin to round off this conversation right now, you are an advocate for peace and social justice. You will agree with me there's extreme poverty in the land. Nigerians are complaining. Just last month they were on the streets across the nation protesting end to bad governance and hunger in the land now. So how do you placate the average Nigerian? What would you say to them in as much as the transportation cost has actually gone up way over 400% since last year, since the removal of fuel subsidy, or even that is still in question, as we are told that subsidy is still around. So how do we placate Nigerians? The NLC is talking, the TUC is talking, the NMA is talking, the NBA is talking. So just what can Nigerians do?
Yeah, Nigerians will need to find a way of holding their government to account because there can never be good governance without active participation of the citizens. Now, the how is what all of us as stakeholders need to come to the table to discuss. We have been advocating for peace and social justice, and by that we mean Nigerians should get what is due them without going through untold hardship. And we've been talking, you can find our names everywhere talking about this reality, but the truth is that Nigerians must come to the space where they are beginning to find ways to hold government to account. When they say there is policy on deregulation, they should be able to hold government to say, show it to us. How is it affecting an average Nigerian? When they say there is fuel available, they should hold government to account for it and say, where is the fuel? We are not seeing it. So these are the realities. And if we don't begin to do this, we are just heaping coals for the day that it is going to explode. We have been trying to do a pardon with many Nigerians as we have them across the nation to tell them, look, violence does not pay, anarchy does not pay, but it is a reality that when a person is hungry, and that is the first
hungry man, he's an hungry man.
is an angry man. There is just little you can do to stop that person from venting out his anger. So these are the realities. And again, back to those who need us to consider this matter a very, very critical matter, especially as the nation is beginning to boil.
All right, we must say a very big thank you to you, Executive Director, International Organization for Peace Building and Social Justice, Ishaya Inuwa Dokuwa, for joining us on Business Insight to look at these issues as regards the fuel scarcity and the increase in pump price. Many thanks once again.
Thank you so much for having me here, and bye for now.
All right, so we just hope that, like the minister has said yesterday, that indeed this issue will be sorted out by the weekend, since he is assuring us that there's availability of the product. That's where we drop the anchor for today. My name is Justin Akadonye. Many thanks for being there. Bye for now.
I will take you through this amazingness today.
Welcome to Plus Trending. I am Buki November, your host, saying thank you for joining us on today's episode.
Welcome back. It's tea time on Plus TV Africa.
Practice makes perfect. I'm not perfect yet, but I'm a lot better than I used to be.
He's a king. He's entitled to marry 100 if he wants to.
Hey, what's up, guys? You're welcome to another edition of Plus Event, and I remain your host.
Your absence isn't an excuse anymore, as Plus Events is all you need, as we bring you the glitz, the glamour, and loads of fun.
Oh, definitely. By no question. He's a oh, God forbid, Holy Ghost fire, I know.
I just want to be blown away. I want to be wild. This is 11 years of doing it.
I'm surrounded by so much positivity.
No, it's okay.
Yo, what's up, my people? It's your boy Starboy Terry. You're watching
Plus Event on Plus TV.
Stay glued to Plus TV Africa every Saturday and Sunday, 4:30 p.m. West African time.
I was pushed to the point that I had to start something not numb. And I'm a big risk taker, and I enjoy doing things that nobody really does. I wanted something different from every other art form that has been pushed out there. I didn't have that fulfillment in what I was doing, and I really wanted to express myself more as an artist, and I decided to resign and go into practicing art full time. I loved subjects that had illustrations or drawings in them. I just kept pushing it and went to the extent of studying art in school, so it's been art all my life for me. I try to conceptualize what I want to create in my head. Even in as much as scattered as it might be, I create it in my head first, then I put it on paper. I sketch, then I try to pick colors, and I proceed to the main piece. A friend of mine told me, like, there's really nothing that could be achieved with graffiti here. The piece behind me is titled Bold Steps. So I'm just trying to put my own, it's an abstract journey of African fashion has come so far. The word there is Ikeakpa. Ikeakpa is a Bini word for movement. So we are it's just a movement, and we have the shoes here, which shows the flow and the storm which the movement creates, while working. I'm Osa7. I'm an African urban artist and design consultant.
Welcome to another interesting edition of The Advocate on Plus TV Africa on DSTV channel 408. Our panelists with topical issues expect no holds barred. We say it like it is. On today's episode, I'll be looking at rape and sexual assault globally. Inikbi will dive into the social media's role in unity or division as it relates to African youth. Hussein from Abuja will be speaking on Nigeria and double standard, the role of citizens. Elijah will address national posture for rebuilding Nigeria, the way forward. We will be back after this break. The shadow pandemic on rape and sexual assault globally. Injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere, according to Martin Luther King Jr. Recently, the brutal rape and murder of a 7-year-old girl in Ethiopia sparked nationwide outrage, with the public condemning the lenient sentence given to her attacker. This tragic incident has amplified concerns over the effectiveness of the justice system in protecting the most vulnerable. Similarly, in India, the rape and murder of a trainee doctor in West Bengal has shocked the nation, prompting the Supreme Court to criticize authorities for their mishandling of the investigation, highlighting the urgent need for systemic change.
Well, this is a very, very sad reoccurrence.
Really sad because it's more like a rampant occurrence and situation, especially in India. Then in Africa, we have more of pedophiles walking amongst us. Like you see people, caretakers, people who you leave your children with, you get molesting them. Exactly. These are people who are close to you. They are not strangers. They are not aliens from space or something.
People who you even trust your children, you know, in their care.
Exactly. So what do you think? And especially when it comes to the justice system, the sentence of having Awat's attacker. What are your takes on this?
Okay, so you know this scenarios, right? The recent one in Ethiopia and then India. I think that it just highlights, you know, the serious issues that we have when it comes to protecting those who are vulnerable. So when we come into the justice system now, because we all know that there are laws and there are punishments for these perpetrators. So it's not about the laws now. It's beyond the law. It's the enforcement of this law and the process of enforcing it. So when we hear that a 7-year-old is raped and then murdered, right, a victim of rape and sexual violence, and then we hear that, oh, the punishment is 15 years. And even before you now, before there is justice or before justice is given, it takes a very long while. So it's not just about, you know, giving more or enacting more harsh punishment or harsher punishment. It's about the justice system. We need a justice system that works, right? A justice system that is fair and also swift as well.
Swift, yes.
A lot of times,
especially swift.
Yes, swift. A lot of times you see when we have rape cases, it takes a very long while. Imagine a 7-year-old being raped. Before the 7-year-old gets justice, or not even justice, now before there is a verdict or decision given to that case, rape case, it takes a very long while. You're talking about 10 years, 15 years. The child would have grown, and you know, there's a lot of trauma. So it's beyond.
In Heaven's case, she died.
She died.
Don't forget the Indian scenario, though. That one was a young medical doctor.
Yeah, who was?
And it was more of gang rape case, and she was murdered.
Yeah.
And
So
the perpetrators of this act were not found till today.
Till today, and then
Yes.
they are
You know,
working.
one thing before.
okay.
Sorry for cutting you short.
Alright.
Before we actually get to this point of view, I just
Mhm.
want to say something relating to India.
Okay.
Now, it's although rape and pedophile, it's the crime of rape and that's crime of pedophile. It's common everywhere,
Mhm.
but particularly the media kind of focuses more on India. Because the reoccurrence is.
Yeah, and
should I
it's
say
like
it's a-
disrespectful. It seems like they're.
it's a
I don't know.
cultural. I don't want to say it's a cultural thing, but it's almost.
You can't say rape is a
No,
cultural.
no. I'm not coming from that
thing.
instance that it's a
Mhm.
culture, but I mean the culture of rape.
Yeah,
The
seems
culture
to
of rape
be
is a recurring.
recurring, yes.
in
That's
India.
just more like
there's a
particular
situation.
joke.
There's a pattern
situation.
now
Yeah.
for
There's
it.
a
Yes.
situation where a woman or young girls will board a train from one part of India to another part, and in the train, once there are more men in the train, in that particular train, she doesn't feel safe.
Exactly.
The next
That's what
thing
I'm
you
saying.
hear that
That's-
she's
You get
raped.
Yeah,
it
that's
boils
what
down
I'm saying.
to
So that's why I said that they are making
Disrespect.
it
mindset,
seem though
Okay,
it's a
mindset.
cultural
disrespect.
thing.
You
Disrespect
get
for women
disrespect for
and-
women.
yeah.
You understand? So it's more like
And honor killings in
honor
culture.
killings.
And then
Yes.
there's a situation of some young Indians that were raped, 2 girls, and eventually hung on a tree and they died. And then in the process, I think I read an article where some men were saying that the reason is why they are trying to justify these things, that the reason is because these young girls or these women are usually very beautiful, so the men could not just
That
resist
is
their
not
beauty.
that is
And
not
it's-
in
that's
your
why
very
that's why I
wrong.
said it's a
And
wrong.
that is
You know,
not
there
valid.
is
It's a
there
very
was
wrong
there was a
culture.
post I read on social media, and they were like, in India, every woman needs a security aid. Like, it has gotten to that.
point.
You know, the uprising and the outcry when this doctor died, it
Mhm.
was more like this pain. They were bringing out the pain in them.
Yeah, that
From
they are
different
bottled up,
different
you know,
scenarios. You get
and
it's more
Let's
like
get
it's,
Hussein's point of view. Hussein, your
Oh,
point
sure.
of view.
Yes, few years back, we actually have a similar case here in Nigeria, in the northern part of Nigeria, where a young girl was raped repeatedly and was eventually murdered. That it took after some days before the security operative could uncover that the headmaster of the school was the perpetrator of such evil. Just like you guys have actually said, it should be a capital punishment beyond just sentencing a few years in prison, because murder, of course, is a capital punishment. And then we should perhaps be looking forward towards expediting the action of cases like this, such that people will know that when they're involved in this kind of activities, then justice is not delayed, no, justice is denied. More importantly, we also parenting. I like emphasizing on parenting, because it just takes more than just giving directive and guidance. It's also a matter of accommodating the children, listening to them, even when they are speaking their languages that you might not tend to understand. Out of their language that could look like nonsense, I'm sure that there should be an element of sense in it. And then it's also an assignment for the parent to also be conversant with the language and the generation their children are in, get themselves used to coming down low to their level, what is peculiar in their generation, read stories, read news, such that they could spot some actions that could, give them some warnings. Because sometimes, naturally, children give signals, they give signs. Maybe they are afraid or stuff like that. And it's quite unfortunate that in some part of the world, guidance and counseling, has been on the low. And I believe if we have them psychologically, they should be able to analyze one or two things that could be evident before the issue. Because I'm sure it's not just going to start in a day, it's a gradual process. And as they are being molested, they are showing some restriction sign. And if you pay good attention and being observant, you'll be able to stop it before it happens. So
thank you so much, Mr. Hussein, for that. I deducted something from what you said about, I think parents tend to shy away from sexual education.
Yeah, I was going to mention
we
that
need
too.
to open up to our children, tell them things, talk to them about their anatomy, talk to them about their bodies. You understand? Teach them that no one.
We're going to talk about let's go down to the root cause. You know, in our society, unfortunately, society like India, you know, India and Africa, we share similar conservative cultural values, where women are usually somehow or somewhat relegated to the background. That is one. You have other issues where people give unsolicited advices when it comes to addressing or referring to woman's body, objectification of the body, sexualization of the body. So these are things. No, we are still talking about the issue of allowing a girl child of 9 years old to get married, but a boy of 14 or so cannot get married. All right, or until you are old enough to be mature to be a man. Exactly. Why will you marry off a 9-year-old girl? So when you see a 9-year-old girl walking around, rather than seeing her as a girl that needs protection, you're seeing her that, oh, this is already fresh meat. Right.
It's really a sad. It's a sad scenario whereby
this is what runs through their mind.
It's a sad scenario whereby
perpetrators,
people who are supposed to protect you are the ones molesting you and endanger you. Yeah. So it's a game of teach your children, show them about their anatomies, tell them no one has access to your bodies. Let them be more vocal. Don't hush them when they talk. They become more vocal and they are able to defend themselves. At least when you are not there, they are more accountable for their own bodies. Okay.
Bola, just to add to what you said, right? There's this visual in Nigeria precisely where you have family friends to say, "This is my wife, this is my junior wife, my junior husband." All these kind of characters should not be entertained. Exactly. You know, you don't joke with some things that are expensive where people do not have a proper understanding of the effects. Because, of course, when they are doing something like that, you count it as a joke, and when they are actually doing the main thing, it's still like, this is what these people do. You don't see it, the parents don't see it, or even people around do not see it as something so critical to address. I think that should also be addressed going forward.
Yes, it should be.
Also going to chip in that, you know, from the early stage, everyone should be taught to respect women, to respect children, to respect their bodies as well. Because if you, just like you said, right, there's a cultural, it links it back to the background. Now, as Africans, as Nigerians, as we grow, or from when we take it back to growing up, I don't know, there's a way the society coins it. We are naturally or consciously, unconsciously, subconsciously, you know, treated or trained to respect the male. Yes, you're right. That's why we always, that's why we are very keen on saying that we should teach people to respect women and you know, and children, women and, you know, the female, because it's very essential.
In Local Palace, what I was trying to say, like, I remember a time I had the opportunity of working with one of my female friends who were going somewhere. Yeah, she's quite a very beautiful lady, and we were working under the sun. She's a fair lady, and somebody accosted her from nowhere, unsolicited, what should I call, compliments or wrong compliment. The person said, he didn't call her a beautiful lady. That would have been fair or better. The person said, look at this fresh popo.
Can you imagine?
Like objectifying.
Exactly, that's what
the average Nigerian or the average human objectifies a woman. Even women objectifies women.
You know, because now when they're able to say things like that, they begin to think and process certain things in their head, and then the act now comes.
That is why you have a situation where a boy could stab a girl in the UK because he asked her out and she turned him down, and then he felt entitled
to the woman's body.
Exactly.
So these are the things you're saying. So you know it's a no. When you approach a woman, she says no. No is a no.
And I think that being said, right, it's also very essential that you understand consent. We are humans, and the law also backs this up. Everybody should.
It's part of human rights.
Exactly, it's part of our human rights. So when someone says no, a no is a no. Don't feel like you need to endanger someone because he said no to you. I don't think that's alpha male-ish, or I don't know.
It's not alpha male, believe me. Being a man has nothing to do with domineering or dominating women. Being a man has a lot to do with responsible, being a visionary, and being focused, being protective, and provide. That's what I think.
You know,
I
feel that
for women.
Majorly stems from social conditioning to make you think you are more superior.
So that's why I said it's cultural.
Yes.
That's why I use the word culture. You know, you can see where I got my background from. Yeah, rape is not a culture. Everybody will disown it, but now it's almost tending to be a culture in India because it's a common practice. Unfortunately, this incident will happen again next month. Unfortunately, I'm not a prophet of doom, but this will happen somewhere.
It's more like you have to treat their mindset
exactly. So
first.
That's where the education. So you know, in all of this, right, we cannot overemphasize the role of education, educating and orienting, you know, these people.
In essence, respecting individuals should be at the core of society. Up next, we have Inikbi.
African youth at the crossroads, social media's role in unity or division. In this digital age, social media platforms like X, formerly Twitter, have become powerful tools for communication. However, recent online skirmishes between African nations, particularly Nigeria and South Africa, highlight a troubling trend. Fuel scarcity mockery and xenophobic tensions have escalated into harmful rivalries that expose the divisions within our continent. While tech giants like Elon Musk makes profits, our youth are left engaging in destructive keyboard wars, often driven by unemployment, ignorance, and idleness. As Africans, we must recognize the detrimental impact of this conflict and shift our focus towards unity and collaboration. Instead of tearing each other down, we should leverage social media to promote our shared values, drive sustainable development, and build a stronger, more united Africa. Our governments, elders, and leaders must also play an active role in guiding the youth towards meaningful online engagement that contributes positively to their personal growth and the continent's future. So
interesting topic.
Interesting topic,
very
really,
interesting.
really, because I mean we've seen the uprising, just like Bola would say, right, on X precisely, and you know it's concerning.
When I saw the trend on social media, I said, "Oh my God!
Oh, not again! Don't you have something to do?"
You know, I feel this beef or feud boils deeper.
Bad blood.
You get,
Of course,
bad blood.
I mean, it's deeper than just coming to catch crews and throw banter on.
In fact, both and Twitter are the victim.
Would you say Twitter is the victim?
Both,
because
both,
they are making
both
money.
especially.
Twitter is making their
Both
money
especially.
from all of this. So
both.
you won't say Twitter is a victim, except you're saying they are victims of making money.
So it boils down. Sorry to cut you. It boils down to like xenophobia in society.
Yeah.
Not loving, not ready to change your mindset to address some certain issues that drag you back as a society.
And,
so I feel that is where all the problem came out from.
Yes, and you know, it's baffling because why is it that African continent, like within, why are we fighting each other?
Ourselves, we see ourselves
why
as the competition
we have
instead of
more
collaborating.
pressing issues to attend to than fight.
Anyway,
you know, so okay, you have something.
The thing is, I'm going to say something quite interesting, but I want to hear Hussain's point of view because Hussain is a traveler. Hussain, I know you've traveled to some countries. You've been to South Africa before. If I'm wrong, correct me. What's your view on this? You know, the issue of Nigerians coming on social media. It's first of all started with Chidinma Additional, where South Africans denied her the opportunity to participate in their pageants.
Yeah.
And then they went on to congratulate another person from another
continent.
You know, like, okay, she came back to Nigeria. Thank God she was received here. Now, it didn't stop there. Nigerian youths were preparing they were trying to fight South Africans, and they will order for both
sides. It wasn't Nigeria.
No,
let's get
I don't know where they started
from.
It's
not from South Africa.
Okay, whichever way.
It was South Africans who started it.
Whichever way. Okay, let's say South Africans, they started it first.
That's what happened.
They started they book a boat on Twitter, right?
Yes.
Boat app. and then the boat drivers will come out.
Ordering
So
right from Nigeria
actually
all the way.
So ordering from Nigeria.
Yeah, exactly. And then when they come, they will cancel it after
Exactly.
they burn
And then they will
they change their VPNs.
Exactly.
They change their VPNs to be
Exactly. And the same thing, South Africa, Nigerians retaliated and the
Nigerians
water boat
actually
ride.
started. Sorry, they now retaliated.
And you know a lot of
South
persons
Africans
suffer
came
because
and
of this,
said,
because fuel is not cheap.
Yeah.
Petrol is not cheap.
That was the
in
whole
both countries.
aim. That was the aim.
So what's your view?
Working that.
You guys have actually spoke a lot, very well about it. In my own, what I would say is why people make use of social media, most especially in Africa, negatively, is the only aspect for them to express their anger. You know, the government is failing. That's just the truth. The government is failing, and they are trying to see why will they be living in an uncomfortable environment, and you are also trying to take advantage of the same situation on them. Now, I might not be able to talk to the government. I might not be able to fight the government the way I want it because the laws is not even favoring individual citizens within the African space. But I can fight you, get you on social media to express how I feel, what I think, and freedom of speech and what have you. And this has constituted a lot to the ways and manners in which Africans manage themselves online. But if you notice, quite all right, you see that areas like some part of East Africa, like Kigali, Rwanda, they hardly participate in something like this. If you notice carefully, and you will see when you get to their country, the country is working. It's a working country, which means the laws of the government of the land is actually doing a whole lot. And people are actually busy. And when you are busy and you are actually enjoying a system that is working, you hardly have time to, banter unnecessarily. So I believe people in South Africa, say for example, they fought like more than 30 years with colonial masters and what have you before they got freedom. And eventually they got this freedom. Well, they have some lazy attitude, just like relating to some south part of Nigeria, where the men do not really want to work. Then Nigerians, precisely, are there taking the edge, being diligent at what they do, and they are feeling threatened. Do you get? So all these things are anger, like vested over time, and some part of laziness, or maybe they don't have job at hand at that time, and they are trying to express that. But you should not, it's quite unfortunate because before you travel to any country, it's always advisable you browse through the internet, get to understand their culture, their ways of life. But in Africa, more especially in Nigeria, it's a lot of things that people read on the social media that without, it's personal opinion that now constitute judgment that people now feel majority of us Nigerians are just like this, and not knowing that some people are expressing their anger, and it's that anger that is actually constituted the ways and manners in which they talk, and that is actually not our true identity. So social media is expected to be a connecting tool to help us build our potential, to help us attract more investors, more collaboration, more businesses, a lot of things to help us develop. But unfortunately, social media is being used the other way around. And again, how do we cop it? The government has to work. When people are busy doing what they love doing, working for why they are building their dreams and stuff like that, you hardly see people active on social media. They just come there and while they wait time, but it's not going to be like as harsh as we see today.
All right. Yeah, thank you, Hussein, for that.
Hussein said that, Hussein, on a lighter note though, you seem to like Rwanda a lot, and we are not bantering unnecessarily, even though we banter. Point noted. I know you are not referring to us. Now, I was going to say something on a lighter note.
Okay.
Now, the thing is that if you want to conquer the world, you want to be a global influence as a young person, you have to learn to make. Well, one thing about young people, we have youthful exuberance. We can channel that youthful exuberance to something positive. So we can connect with other young individuals from across Africa and beyond.
When that's
Now,
the next year, to cruise.
personally, this is from my personal experience. I have had the opportunity of traveling for a conference in Ghana, a Pan-African conference in Ghana some years back, and I met a lot of young Africans from other African countries, including South Africans. Guess what? We are friends to date. We collaborate on several. We've been opportune to collaborate in facilitating programs together, even virtually. We took advantage of social media to push virtual programs. We were not geographically present in the same place, but we are connected. We use this thing widely. Now we connect with people from Europe and other parts of Africa. We're young persons. We're not channeling these things to our advantage. Social media itself is a tool. It's not the devil here. The problem here is xenophobia, youth unrest, massive unemployment, and frustration. That's the problem.
Thank you. So Hussein said, he noted this point that I want to address. So he said, right to freedom of speech. So there's this popular saying amongst legal practitioners, where your right stops is where another person's right begins. So if we're talking about freedom of speech, oh yes, we all have our freedom of speech, but you need to understand that where your right to freedom of speech stops, that's where another starts. So when we are making use of social media, of X, social media in general, there's need for us to, have this at the back of our mind and also be responsible for our behavior and our act. So he said something about a country that's working. That's why I mentioned, that, unemployment. In fact, we Nigerians are facing unemployment. We're facing what I do. So that's why, truly, because you mentioned that Rwanda, oh, sorry, I mean some young guys,
because people like Hussein are busy doing something with their
we on the
something with their time. We don't have time to be bantering over jollof rice. Which jollof rice?
Let me tell you that
it's not like a brawl. It's not like a war bath.
Exactly.
Like having a bloodbath on social media. So there is this thing about holding classes on responsible usage of social media, because most of these youngsters, they do not know how to utilize it effectively. Instead, they are using it to more like settle scores. There was one I saw like last week, and the lady was just bashing all the presidents of Nigeria. A grown woman, you get. So there is a need for responsible usage to understand how to education to
because I think that they need
how to use it responsibly.
Yeah, they need to know that you need a reputable online presence, which is very essential.
That even reminds me too. I remember some years back, while I was very active with Junior Chamber International, I'm still maybe from the background, we had the president then that would tell us collaboration is the new competition. Now, instead of us competing about which jollof rice is sweeter, if it's Ghanaian jollof,
why not come together and cook it and do something like a
South Africans and Nigerians who are more
creative,
who are more good or something, or wealthy or whatever. Why don't we collaborate? And then that's where they coined the word co-opetition. Co-opetition. Have you heard of that word? Cooperative competition. We cooperate together. We have a lot of problems in Africa. We are backward in terms of technology, we are backward in terms of education, we are backward in terms of economy, and so many things. Can we work to even security? Can we young people provide solutions to these our challenges? We don't have to be in power to do this. We can actually collaborate amongst ourselves and then have healthy competition to solve our similar challenges, where our leaders, the African Union leaders, can actually pick this idea from these young people and then give us opportunity to contribute to real social change than being very, very unproductive on social media, talking about which jollof rice.
Exactly.
Or harmful trends.
Hussein is there. Hussein wants to say something.
Yeah, so exactly, Elijah, just what you said, that we need to collaborate together to compete. Right? We are not actually competing, we are actually trying to collaborate. The use of the individual being responsible for our actions or for our growth, right? If you notice in Nigeria or probably some part of Africa, men's like things that do not really make sense are what is trending and what people promote and support, right? When you do correct sense of content rather, you hardly see people who comment. And when you look at it, the only person I can say when it comes to comedy and so use of social media to communicate, that actually when you listen critically to his content, they are actually making sense. He's from South Africa actually, Trevor Noah. If you look at his content, the guy is actually very good. He knows when to stop and when not to bring in some things into play, right? And when you look at an advanced nation, when the use of social media, I could recall when Elon Musk took over, bought Twitter, then former X, Twitter. There were a lot of engaging conversation as to the right of the workers who are working with Twitter, downsizing and stuff like that. It was a good engagement that you see a lot of comments, constructive ones, not like the way we use it here. So I think beyond making it a place to, ease up and what have you, we should also censor the content that we also bring into play. And I believe, just like Inekwe said, that freedom of speech, that where your freedom of speech stops is where another one starts. And for me, I think expression of anger, it has different ways to do it, but there should be penalty when you go, astray, you go out of your words. Once 1-2 people are penalized, just like in advanced nation, people will learn to manage their words and be responsible for whatever they say at any given point in time.
Yeah, thank you for that, Hussein. So I think you already actually dwelled on what we're going to discuss before, we go on a short break. That's the role of the government, right, in ensuring to caution this act. So Elijah, Bola, what do you have to say? What role do you think the government can play, do you understand, to caution this misuse of the social media? You mentioned one, right? Policy making, right? What's it called? Punishment and what have you?
Okay, we talked about freedom of speech.
Yeah.
You cannot curtail people or try to use iron fist on them, not to express themselves. It's more like a two-edged sword.
Yes.
So what I should say, what I want to say is that create programs, create policies, yes, for responsible usage of the internet. You get, some people are not educated. They do not know that they can actually benefit so many things from the usage of internet. They only think it's about bloodbath, word bath, and all that. You see someone who has the opportunity to do something great for you, and you insult the person because you're on social media. There is this saying that you see on social media has made everyone equal. When socially equal, you get.
True.
So it's a problem there where you are not educated, when youth are not educated on how to properly use social media. So my 2 cents is create programs for responsible usage. Yeah.
Elijah.
Well, she has said all, and even the policy and the rest. Yeah, we were talking about social media regulation before. The issue why most of us were scared of social media regulation because that trust on the government, we don't know to what extent they can take this, so that they don't abuse the right of citizens. But on the other hand, themselves, we need to caution ourselves. Social media is just an extension of human interaction. If you're interacting with someone physically and you insult the person or you defame the person can sue you. If you take it to social media, it's not any different. So let's just use things responsibly. That's what I would say.
All right.
Yes.
So, okay.
On the panel, I would also like to contribute something to that regards. Just like you guys said, that social media makes makes us equal. In Islam, sorry to divert, in Islam, when you're in the mosque and you have 1 or 2 corrections, it's social interaction. You are actually equal when you're at that point. I don't want to know if you are old age or younger age. Once you are doing things that is not done the proper way, you have been addressed maturely, right? You interact and you do not take offense when you are actually communicating while in mosque, probably after prayers or during prayer and stuff like that. So it is all about our social interaction. That leads to the fact that we should also make use of our religion, our cultural heritage to actually help to build society, improve our social interaction. And I believe when you have people who are well cultured, who have all these adequate social interaction, even going to social media, they will be mindful of their action.
All right. Thank you so much, Hussein. So far, we've discussed about the misuse of social media and how we should be cautioned, rather, the caution for the misuse of social media. So right after the break, we'll have Hussein.
Nigerian double standard, the citizen rule. It is a brand new day in a city full of prosperity. A young man was seen muttering loud and repeatedly saying, "Can this situation change for good at all?" He spoke about the policing system that is expected to protect the people, but yet prioritize protecting the rich and making the poor that are vulnerable. He spoke about the civil servants employed to run a better system, but yet create numerous barriers when new innovations that can make the system better are being introduced and are the first to complain about bad governance. As it continues, it becomes worrisome as the leaders of tomorrow's future is currently being challenged, considering the decay in the public education system and high cost of private education system, yet the entertainment industry that now promote indecencies in words, actions, dressing, and all are being celebrated, which questions the need to even have an education in the first place. Yes, it has eaten so deep that money and knowing how to spend it is the only thing needed to manipulate most citizens, voters, or rather vote cravings, while selecting the leaders ahead of morals, values, and willpower. And those that understand the consequences of such actions only wills without taking any corrective action, making the process business transactional only. Indeed, these double standards are seen to be deep-rooted at all levels, from the laws that favor the rich and the poor inferiority complex to make the necessary sacrifice of doing the needful for a better system in a land full of riches. The time for a critical rethink is now, before it's too late. Fellow advocates, let us see the decisive way forward for us to get out of all these menace that we find ourselves. What do you have to say?
It's quite sad in the sense that the fabric of society is rotting away. That's the language I can use because it fits. We have wrong. The youths are exposed, especially the very younger populace. They are exposed to wrong standards. They see something normally once upon a time people frown out. We all frown at as a society. Now they see it as a norm. So when you start seeing nonsense, when you start seeing something that is wrong as a norm, it becomes a problem. Honestly, it becomes a huge problem in society. When you see some certain kind of people who are not supposed to be celebrities. Now everybody is a celebrity. So far you are famous. Even the infamous.
They are promoting,
and then they now promote. They tend to project the ideology, their wrong ideologies.
Abuse that exactly. Or the
I feel like it's been washed down.
Every Tom, Dick, and Harry with a good phone camera
can be a celebrity now.
Celebrity already.
Or an
influencer. That's the word.
That's the question. What are you influencing?
An influencer should be more like that word carries so much weight. You get
Morally
you are influencing
upright,
ideas. You are influencing lifestyle. You get but now you see someone from nowhere without any good track record. I'm an influencer, so that's a problem in society.
So there's moral
dependency.
Exactly.
Yes. So it's now from this point of view, it's a general. It's a general point of view.
Even
right? It's not just
politics.
So it's not just the government,
society,
even the citizens,
even in families these days. Families, families. You see, number of divorce rates. Or I feel when it comes to issue of family and all that and children, the way they are being raised, you see, there was a video I watched some time ago about a boy, 17-year-old, buying a car for the parents. Then Yeah, so 17-year-old.
What does it do?
17. Then the mother was screaming and shouting, no, take this car back. So I was telling myself, if many of these parents can actually do like this, at least there'll be a level of decency and caution on the side of the children. Now, the average 17-year-old feels that if I buy a car, I bring it home, my parents will be impressed and I'll be supported in anything I do, whatever.
Well, I don't see anything wrong with the 17-year-old buying a car.
No, that's why I asked
but
buying a car at 17 is not a problem. But
yeah,
I'm
I understand the angle you are coming from.
Particular
you are coming
angle
from the angle. Even a
how
child
did
of,
you get this?
Yeah,
how?
sure. Even a child of 10-year-old can buy.
Yes,
sure. Ask me how. Like you have in advanced society where some children are very talented.
Yeah, they're gifted. They paid royalties and all
their
that.
parents will actually chaperone them and guide them to having contract with maybe an entertainment industry or whatever. And then whatever money comes.
So that's a valid technology. That's a valid one.
But I understand the angle you are coming from. You are coming from the angle of moral decadence. Everybody wants to make money at all costs, doing the wrong things.
Exactly, Elijah. Sorry to cut in. Allowing it down to Nigerian space, right? You made mention of someone who is brilliant. Have you ever seen any Nigerian institution, probably primary, secondary, even a prize worthy of, let's say, 10 million, 15 million to somebody who is brilliant? But you can see a PPN Nigeria who are exposing themselves.
Oh, precisely. Now that's what we're talking about.
They are being compensated with millions, tens of millions, with cars, house, and stuff like that.
Making the wrong things,
compensating the wrong things.
Exactly, and then you know,
shunning the right things.
People who are doing the right thing.
We have corporate
organizations,
like large multinational companies sponsoring entertainment programs that contribute to moral decadence. Unfortunately, I won't mention any particular brand.
Now,
but you know what I'm
it's
talking
not
about.
A game of
but you now have people in university that come out with good first class degree
and they don't
in
even have
mathematics,
jobs. They
science
don't
and
even
technology.
Get
They don't. If I thought they even give them an award, it's not more than 100,000.
For some of these sponsors, not
a game
of aligning with their values anymore. It's not a game of aligning with their values. It's a game of fame. How famous is this brand to push my brand forward?
Precisely.
You get.
Nobody now compensates.
No, who will take care of Nigeria? Nobody is taking care of the Nigerian society. Everybody is, I don't care, it doesn't concern me. My son is not involved, my child is not involved, it doesn't concern me.
Everybody just wants to.
The fabric of the society is being destroyed day by day, and no one cares. That's disastrous.
To make it worse, right? I was opportune to be part of the nationality process build-up of 2019 election with a young presidential aspirant. And I can tell you that at a point, the young presidential aspirant has to come down and say, the youth we don't have, security we don't have, money we don't have. Because there are some so-called royalty that they did not come out because we did not pay them certain money that they are expecting. So you see, during the election process that we are expecting people to choose right and see people with good power, with track record of what they've done. But no, they prioritize those short money of 2,000, 3,000, and as high as, like we see in the last election, of 250,000 that people are being given just to vote in. So, and once they get that, they're seeing it as business, like a business transaction where I need to, spend billions of naira to get to the office. And once I get there, I don't have business with you. My own business is how to recoup such money. And then it now affects the ways and manners in which we are being, ruled, we are being addressed. A lot of moral indecency are actually going on and forth, because there are critical things that need to take charge, which is the government, the critical entity rather, which is the government. But government is not transactional. How do we correct that? That's a problem.
Yes. So, taking it from the government, right? We've talked about the government and then role models in quotes or influencers and public, personnel. Now, we, the citizens, what are we? There are double standard, practices amongst the citizens. So let's take, for example, right? Of course, we know that the economic state of the country is in shambles, but when you go to the market, why is it that we citizens, you see the market men and women at every point, every slight opportunity, they use it, they even if they are making profits, right, they increase it and then they say, that's the country, that's what is going on. So we, the citizens, need to also talk to ourselves. You see, when there is, let's take, for example, fuel scarcity. Okay, it is scarce, maybe the price is still the same. all of a sudden transportation, this hike in transportation, this
Because the
hike
people
in.
selling black market fuel in quotes.
So
sold
so
higher.
we are also the problem. So
That's
we-
what he's saying.
Yeah.
You
That's
know,
what he's saying. You say the road
community
is bad and
is
you kept
breaking
pouring
down.
deaths
Now
on the road.
everybody is fighting for their stomachs. So that's the way I see
Stomach
it.
infrastructure.
Exactly. No more communal decisions,
And
or
the problem
you
is
don't
that-
want to project like looking out for my neighbor, looking out for my country. No more. There is this no nationalism. Let me use that word. No, that ideology is dead. As far as I'm concerned,
you
here.
see that-
So
sorry,
everyone
okay.
is fighting for their pockets. When everyone is fighting for their pockets, it's more like a rat race. You understand? One stumbling on another to stand
climb,
up.
yeah. You see that
it's exactly survival of the fittest. So
the
that's
funny
the
thing
problem.
Is, and the funniest thing is, today now we have this statement that regardless of the activities, I should just have my own to do. I should be able to do my own conveniently. I don't want to know what the situation will look like.
I don't care about the
consequences.
You see, I want to make reference to the drainage system again. You know, we had flood that affected.
Yeah.
So now we see you will see citizens who would comfortably go out to throw that into
Inside the
those
gutter.
drainage. And then when the flood comes up again, they're like, oh, the government this, the government that. What quota are you paying to the development of the society? So it's it's a lot of. It's
I
not
think
just
we
the
should look
government
more
now.
at solutions. The
citizen,
solutions more
precisely.
is the rigid. You know, the problem I have is that these same Nigerians, unfortunately, when they travel to advanced world,
They behave
tend to
well.
comply with the norms, right? Just like Mr. Hussein always talk about Rwanda. When they travel to Rwanda, they will comply.
Everything actually boils down to the government. Even in abroad that you're talking about, is because the laws in the state is very fixed.
Implementation.
Right? The government are doing that. I can give an example in Lagos, for example. A lot of things like BRT lanes that you don't want to, you dare not enter. Once you are caught, you know the penalty. People are actually behaving, of which some who do not depend on government. If government do their part, and apparently, even the citizen, just like Nitin said, we need to also play our part. Everybody has to play their role to make the society better. Because I can see, hardly will you see in abroad where you see their government officials going around with security or delays and stuff like that. They work like normal citizens because they are free. Here in Nigeria, you can be a billionaire, trillionaire. You are not free because they are even afraid of society. which you cannot even move from the city to the village without carrying, escorts. We cannot walk freely within the streets. So what is the essence of harnessing all these words and promoting indecency? And it's a lot, and it's worrisome.
It is.
Every Nigerian has a role to play to ensure that double standard is reduced to the barest minimum, even if possible, is eradicated completely. Let us do the needful. Let the right be right and wrong be wrong. Let us not promote mediocrity in any sense. And when we see things that are not the way it is, we should see it as it is and promote a saner society. Up next is Felix Elijah. Please do stay with us right after the break.
Pressing forward, a national posture for rebuilding Nigeria. During the just concluded National Posture for Rebuilding Nigeria, Dr. Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala, Director General of the World Trade Organization and keynote speaker, emphasized the importance of a social contract in governance beyond the dynamism of politics towards enhancing national sustainability, economy, security, and provision of basic infrastructure. It could be inferred that, according to her address, the social contract is a way of assuring continuity in the deliverable of good governance, irrespective of the chaos of a dynamic politicking or political strategy. On the other hand, civil societies and citizens in general should hold the government accountable while encouraging the protection and propagation of social contracts, which may include protection of key infrastructures. In conclusion, the posture for building Nigeria as we press forward as a nation would be to uphold good governance, and sustainable delivery of socio-economic development beyond the dynamism of politics and parochial interests. Now, my fellow advocate, before we banter on this, I wanted to tell us something about the social contract theory. Traditional social contract theories invoke a contractual arrangement to explain why government came about and what citizens and government explicitly and implicitly agree to in order for civil society to exist, and what each of their rights and responsibilities are under. Now, according to Dr. Okonjo-Iweala, she made reference to political philosophers in the 17th century down to
Thomas
research
Hobbes.
work that was done recently in the London School of Economics, if I'm not mistaken. And then she was saying some things as regard to there are some countries that have unstable government. She made reference to Peru, that she went on Peru for a tour, and in the last 7 years they produced how many presidents? More than how many presidents that there is on, like instability in the political scene. Whereas if you look at their governance scene, it's almost stable. And then when it comes to Nigeria, that has been stable in terms of the political, our governance, electioneering and everything, we still not to have a stable governance process, politicking. Like social contract theory will be like, what does the citizen want with the government, and how will the government play their role, who is playing what, and whoever is going into power, irrespective of politics, this should not be touched. And she emphasized security, weaponizing security against other political opponents and allowing your citizens to suffer, and the protection of and provision of basic infrastructure. So I want us to delve more on strategy of governance above politics. So I'm going to go to Hussein first before I come to you.
Before you go to Hussein, I would like to pitch in something. You talked about social contract.
Yeah.
Well, when Thomas Hobbes was like creating that philosophy and all that, he was focused on a society that is sane, that everybody sees everybody you get as having a right or something. Coming down to Nigeria, I don't think social contract can work easily. It will take a whole lot of work, intentionality, and voting the right persons into government who understands the concept of social contract.
Basically addressing our challenges, because we have to address
that's why from Dr. Okonjo-Iweala's address, and they just concluded, even the president, the former president of Ghana, John Mahama, he actually made reference to when he was talking about the need for sustainability in governance process, and emphasizing Dr. Okonjo-Iweala's point of view that can this be done properly in Africa, sustainable governance. That was why I said I understand the angle you're coming from. Having people being aware and being having high level of
because you cannot practice what you are not aware of.
Exactly.
You understand?
But then at the other hand, what about strategy? She's coming from the angle. She actually brought it down to our level that this is the problem we are having. We are more concerned about politics than actual governance. This person wants to come into government and then do his own.
Our electoral bodies need to be accountable. They need to do the right thing. Our judiciary system needs to be independent enough to do the right thing.
Independence of the
so now I'm going to ask Hussein, what's your view on strategy for good governance? Hussein.
So thank you. Just like you have rightly said, it is necessary that a country, before you can say you want to push forward or rebuild a country, you have to have a strategic plan. And it's just like you said, social. I give you two examples. China do not just become what they have today. It's a process. They come up with I don't know the name you call it, probably a social strategy or what have you, but they have 5-1-5. That means 5 items for the next 5 years. And irrespective of who is in power, you have to achieve that. That's the goal. And they use it strategically to build their country. Same thing happened to United Arab Emirates. Early 2000, they came together and said, you know what? All these emirates are going to become one. And then the largest of the 5 emirates will be the capital. This says, okay, this is my interest. I want to be tourism. Then, okay, no problem. Do it. We support you. Everybody aligned and they have a goal. And they are moving, right? Now, I don't believe Bola's statement that says Nigerian cannot achieve that. I don't believe. I think it's just a willpower. Every section of, I give an example. Every section of Nigeria has their own interest. It's just for a good leader to align on a purpose to make it work. The example I want to give is, you have in Kano, in Zaria, hide and skin, that the export is a main process to the euro and sell it for like maybe $3 per kg. And you have in Aba, made in Aba shoes, made in Aba leather bag. They are importing all these hide and skin from the likes of Portugal and the likes. Now, what happens to comparative economic advantages where you come together and say, you know what, we have these resources. Let us see how to utilize these resources. Have an handshake. It's a willpower for you to be, strategic and have a focus. And I'll also give you an example. What Nigerians are demanding for are not much. Once you give the basic, Nigerians are contented, right? In Lagos today, I say it anywhere, any party that wins the election, irrespective of the ruling party or whatever, even if not the winner, they do not have any reason not to work because the system has been built already. I recall some time ago when during former Governor Ambode's tenure, when they want to start this house levy of the thing, Lagosians came together and said, no, you are trying to exploit us. And the government reverted. That means there is a working system that you cannot just bring a law that will affect the citizen negatively and the citizen will not be able to communicate or fight back. So in essence, what we are saying is it is possible. And one thing that people do not pay attention to is actually the legislative arm. We pay too much attention to the executive arm, governor, president, chairman of local government, and what have you. And we rely on the court, which is the judiciary arm, to make judgment when you have grievances. But neglecting the fact of the legislative who are actually making this law. You're having people who do not really understand the law that they are making to even help to review the entire system. It is the right time we begin to focus on the legislative arm who are going to the House of Assembly, House of Representatives, and Senate to make a law that will favor, a rebuilding process or a sane country. I think that is one aspect that we are missing. And once we are able to do that, it will be able to hold any executive or the judiciary responsible for their actions if they do not act appropriately.
All right, thank you so much for that. Okay. You made mention of something that legislature, you get legislative and the people there who do not even understand the laws they are making. That's part of what I was saying, that if these people are not aware of the things they do and understand the positions they hold, how do they now understand something like social contract? Except you have good leaders, not just good leaders. It's one thing to be a good leader, it's another thing to be a functional leader in politics and an informed leader in government. You understand? So that is what we are talking about.
Yeah. So so I think you made like really nice points, right? I like that you actually talked about the economy, state of the country, and then you talked about the legislature. So yes, you said that some of these people who are in the legislative don't even understand the law, right? And so they don't even understand the society to be able to create these laws to attend to the issues that that we are facing as a country. But then again, let's take it back to the economy state of the country. So I feel like economically there are things that we need to attend to, and that's where the strategic development comes in, or taking strategic steps. I actually feel like we put so much focus and attention on oil. Nigeria is blessed with vast resources and so capital. Yeah, so we have the oil, we have agriculture, we're not manufacturing. So there are different areas that we can actually focus on to help our economy. So we focus so much on oil. That's one area. There's agriculture. And now there's the manufacturing aspect. Now, everybody would actually agree that Nigeria is blessed. Why are we not manufacturing? Why do we keep importing and importing instead of us to export?
It boils down to policies.
So if you look at it critically, in the developed nation where people are actually working, where things are actually working, it is the law. And it is the work of you see, the legislative arm that we are not taking cognizance or we are not taking as important as it should be is actually a major factor that could reshape the economy.
Oh, economy.
I'll give you an example. I see, let me tell you something. The constitutional constituency project, whatever, the legislature has no business doing business. Do you get? Of the executive. They have no business doing business of the executive. They are there to monitor. But here they are having billions, trillions allocated to them as constituency development allowance. They are not the executive. Do you understand? These are the people who are expected to monitor the process to ensure that what is needed to be done, they are, migrating from oil-dependent nation. Because one time we've been agricultural dependent nation before the discovery of oil. So what happened to that? We have a lot of stuff, but because there is no monitoring, it's just like when you have kids or you have students and you don't monitor them, you don't guide them, they are bound to do whatever they know to do. Then you now have much emphasis on the executive. The executive are also using their veto to get out and threaten those people because, of course, they're giving you constituency development project. Have you actually delivered it? So how do you want to tell me when you have not done your own? These are things that are wrong. And if we don't correct it, we are not yet ready to build a better Nigeria.
Well, you all have said it. The vein of the crust of the butter is as much as possible, we have to be very intentional. Our dues are the hem of affair. We need to be intentional about governance. Politics should not be a distraction to, politics can be chaotic and dynamic. But governance ought to be sustainable and continuous. In all. And then the citizens should always try as much as possible to hold the government accountable. It's a both ways in handshake method. The government should listen to the citizens, and the citizens should hold the government. The citizens should also hold the government accountable. There should be like always a continuous conversation between both ends towards sustainable development. So thank you all for your time. How time flies. Do keep your comments coming in on Facebook, Plus TV Africa, #TheAdvocateNG, or on X and Instagram at Plus TV Africa, #TheAdvocateNG. To catch up with previous broadcasts, go to plustvafrica.com/theadvocate. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel at Plus TV Africa. Until next time, when we can continue working together to accomplish what we do best. Let's continue to push for a social change. Bye for now.
Bye.
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 Hello, welcome to this edition of our DARE program. And I say DARE because we thank you all who are beginning to join the train of our viewers, Timeless Conversations. Today, I have a very dear friend and brother and a consummate music and entertainment administrator, but first and foremost, a distinguished Nigerian reggae musician by the very popular name, the one and only Oritz Wiliki.
Thank you, my brother.
Hi, Oritz.
My brother Lekon.
Welcome.
Nice to meet you again.
Great.
Thanks for having me.
Yes, great.
Thank you.
Now, this is a gentleman who has contributed a great deal to the management of the music industry, to the entertainment industry, and is still contributing. He's discovering more and more talent. Anywhere he goes, he sees new talent. He gets involved with the nurturing and development. We will come to that. But first and foremost, let me ask you, Oritz.
Yes, please.
How did this start?
Professionally, it started out interestingly.
Interestingly, because I was working with NTA Benin, and one day somebody ran upstairs and said, "A man wants to see me." I said, "Who?" He said, "Ben," by name. So I went downstairs. I saw him. He was one of the founding members of the entertainment industry then. And then he said, Prince G.A.D. Tabansi wants to see me in Onitsha. Because we used to have a program exchange with LTV at Enugu. And so some of my programs that I was producing were shown in Enugu. And that was how he was able to identify and said he should come and fetch me. So I actually went with him, went to see Prince G.A.D. Tabansi, and he told me he's been following my program, and he wants me to come and handle the video session of his recording studio. Then Tabansi used to be called the Mecca of Body.
It was the Mecca.
So everything was happening down there in the east.
Yes.
And so some of the equipment came pretty late. And so when they were building, I was seeing myself as, what am I then doing every day? I started going to the studio downstairs. There I met late Jake Solo.
Jake Solo, yes.
With some other foreign engineers, Tom and Leah Aaron, who were one Jamaican and one British. So I started working with them, studying the rudiment of sound recording. And then from there, the studio was ready. So I was in charge of the video session as well as the A&R department. So I approve any artist that is supposed to be recorded. So I was doing that until late Joe Solo decided to say he wants to go and make his own studio. So I moved with him.
You did?
Yes. So we now had Jake Solo Productions.
Yes.
Having myself, himself, and Roy Obika.
Roy Obika, I remember Roy Obika, yes.
In Onitsha.
Yes.
So we ran that until Jake Solo died. And when Jake Solo died, I was still in there, opened up my own small studio called Zion Lake, recording studio. And then Lemmy Jackson was coming to the east to do his production as well. And he said, oh boy, why not move to Lagos? Lagos is where it should be happening now because Decca is back, Funodis is back.
Yes.
So you want us to work together.
And Tabansi also had that presence on Oregon Road.
In Lagos.
Yes.
Yeah. But then the studio were in
the studio was in Onitsha, okay.
And so I came to Lagos, working with Lemmy Jackson under Lemmy Jackson Music.
Music, yes.
So we're working together, and then there is hardly any artist of note, in this country that was released between 80 and the late 90s that I was not part of.
Yes.
From Majek Fashek, you see that I did the percussions.
Yeah.
To Raski Mono, I did the horns. To a lot of them, Peter Otong, Iso Black, Alex O, the list is endless. So they've all had a bit of me.
Yeah.
And so in 1989, I said, okay, let the doctor or the native doctor also cure himself. So that was
physician,
exactly.
Heal thyself.
Yes. So that happened to be my first recording, which was Tribulation in 1989.
Yeah.
So that's where since then is.
And that was a super hit.
So since then, we've been out there doing the best we can.
But that transition took some time.
Yes, actually.
Why?
Yes, because I knew where I was going.
Okay.
And there was no need to rush because I wanted a situation where I can define my sound. I can define my sound because when you can play instruments, you'll be able to interpret what is inside of you far better than any producer in this world. Yeah. So, but when you cannot, you give an idea to the producer, he is going to also interpret it the best way he thinks.
Or get a musician or an instrumentalist who can
interpret it, interpret it.
Yeah.
But none of them may be able to interpret it exactly what is in your head.
Yeah, except the very exceptional session men.
People.
Yeah.
So if, for example, I play guitar and I have a song I have written in guitar expression, so if I put it down, then others will be able to follow up.
Okay.
And the direction will remain same. And that is why if you play Majek Fashek, you will see that it's far different from Ras Kimono.
Yeah, it is.
If you play Ras Kimono and you play Orisuliki, you see that it's quite different from each other. Yet, it's reggae music.
But then, how many instruments do you play?
I play almost all.
You haven't answered my question.
Really?
How many do you play?
I play the bass guitar.
Okay.
I play the drum is my major.
All right.
I play the guitar itself.
Yes.
I play a little bit of keyboards.
The keyboards.
I dare the horns sometimes.
You dare the horns. I like that. That's some challenging instrument.
Yes, very.
Yes.
Then I play miscellaneous percussions as well.
Okay, please explain miscellaneous percussion.
Miscellaneous percussion, shekere, kabasa, agogo,
yes,
shaker, tambourine. You know, these are all spices that make music interesting.
So food is nothing without spices.
Exactly. And so when you put a song down, so to curry it to a more appetizing sound, the percussionist will have to sit down and say, okay, it's an opening here, I can drop my triangles here. It's an opening here, I can drop my kabasa here. I can drop an ogene here. I can drop side stick here.
Right.
And so by the time you hear the uniqueness of all these spaces that are available in the song,
it becomes
so interesting and full. And so something is sweet in the music, you cannot tell why it is sweet. So it is the combination of all these percussions put together to sweeten the music that you have recorded.
Okay, let me recall something you just said. You said a while back now. You said if you had an idea of a sound in your head and you cannot play the the instrument, you can never really have the full expression.
Exactly, you can't.
Now, how many musicians or performers today are that gifted or that prepared?
Very few. Very few. Very few in our own climate.
Yes, first and foremost, our charity begins at home.
But in the civilized climate, before you call yourself a musician, you must be a fantastic